Harry Potter Hot Takes, Episode 1, Take 1.
Take 1, it's the first episode!
My name's AJ, I use they, them pronouns.
My name is Sam, and I use she, her pronouns.
And together we're Harry Potter Hot Takes.
So for those of you that are starting out this channel, as are we, for the first time ever, I've never read the Harry Potter books. I've also never seen the movies ever in my life. In fact, I've actually avoided all of Harry Potter up to this point. I'm 27 and I don't know how this has happened, but here I sit.
I read the first Harry Potter book when I was 8 in about 3 hours. Asked my dad for the second, and the response was roughly, no, that's expensive. So I reread the first book until I had it memorized.
We've been best friends for over 12 years. I've been receiving some like gentle harassment, I would say.
Yeah,
for the whole time to read Harry Potter, and this past Christmas break, so just a few weeks ago, I read the first one. We are starting this channel to commemorate this journey that I guess we're both on of having some things to say about Harry Potter.
Having so many things to say. I haven't been able to talk to her about this for 12 years.
It's gonna be great. On this channel, we always drink fantastic beers, and we tell you where to find them. So today, I'm drinking the Sonic Sea Dragon IPA.
I'm drinking the Sonic Grape Dragon IPA. Cheers!
Cheers to Harry Potter Hot Takes. We're both drinking beers from Odin Brewing, which is from Vancouver, BC, British Columbia in Canada.
Yeah. The notes on my beer are grape, grapey, and more grape.
Oh, yikes. Can I?
Yeah. I'm gonna try the regular beer. The notes on this beer are bright, juicy, and floral.
Oh, that's a lot of grape.
It is bright, juicy, and floral.
This is a great beer. This is an excellent beer. It's a really good IPA. It's nice and balanced. It is bright, it is juicy, it is a little bit floral.
It's grape.
That's grape. So those are our fantastic beers and where to find them.
What did you expect going in to Harry Potter?
Okay, so going in, I was expecting to have my mind absolutely blown away. I guess my first experience with Harry Potter was I went on a family holiday when I was 14, and I've got one younger sister who read Harry Potter at exactly the right age. She would have been 11 or 12. We went to this place that had water slides. You know, there's nothing more exciting than a water slide. Like, to be frank, there's not. So we get there and I'm like, all right, sis, let's go on these water slides. And she was like, just a minute. I'm reading Harry Potter. And I remember thinking to myself, like, how good are these books? Like, okay, book, water slide. This is not a difficult decision to make. How good are these books? You know, she quietly read them, said she really liked them, and really never said much to me again about them. But based on only the fact that she preferred Harry Potter to water slides on that family holiday, I was expecting big things. Big, big, big things.
Did you get those big things?
Oh yeah, this book is fantastic. So this is the copy that I was reading. AJ gave this to me a number of years ago and said, for the love of everything, read this. I did. What did you expect going into Harry Potter?
Nothing. I was 8 years old.
Okay, what did you expect when the second one came out?
I was just done with the Dursleys and ready for Hogwarts. And by that I mean I was done with living a normal life in a mid-sized city in Western Canada and ready for not that. And by not that, I mean wizard school.
I was also ready for wizard school when I read this last week at the age of 27. I'm still ready. We're both still ready.
If Professor McGonagall is watching this, please send my letter. For the love of God, please at least tell me the owl died somewhere over the Atlantic. Between that like first and third book segment, like I kind of just stopped expecting book things and was ready for the real thing. Okay, let me preface this with I love my father very much. But I literally wrote a letter to Professor Snape asking him to adopt me so I could go to Hogwarts.
Why would you ask Snape to adopt you of all the characters in this book?
Hear me out. Dumbledore's an old guy who really likes lemon candy and left a baby on a doorstep. McGonagall, scary Scottish lady. Snape, approachable as compared to the other two.
That's the first hot take, is that Snape is the most approachable. That's a very hot take.
I was somewhere between 8 and 11, and I was like, okay, what are the things that I relate to most? No one liking me. Sweet, check mark, Snape. Thought of potions? Real good. Check mark, built-in potion teacher as dad. Second dad. Roughly. Not gay dads, just additional father. I was a serious kid. I had no kid friends. I don't know, you just seemed, I don't know, like a dude I could get along with. We were on the same wavelength. It was just a lot of me making this face as a kid. Just imagine how much better it would be if I'd been trained by Snape in the art of scowling at yourself.
Is your hair parted down the middle? We can middle part it. Hair styling break. There. Snape vibes. It's okay, it's too clean. You can't be Snape because your hair's not that greasy.
It was earlier. Hey.
Anyway.
What if he just aggressively moisturizes his hair with coconut oil like you do sometimes when you do the slick back bun?
Okay, but the slick back bun is fashion.
What if that's just what he's doing before class? Where he's just like, slick back bun, voguing in the mirror. Slick back bun, voguing in the mirror. Class time, bun out.
No. Okay. No. That's not how this works. When I read this book, I thought a lot of things about Snape, but I didn't think fashion. And when I slick my hair back and vogue in the mirror, like, it's fashion. Just imagine this man with like plastered hair. He's like kind of always sweaty. He's like very pale for no reason.
Literally me. What surprised you the most reading the first book?
That's such a hard question because I knew so little that like literally everything was a surprise. There was a lot of time in my young adulthood and adulthood where I'd be out in public somewhere with friends and say like, oh look, there's Hagrid. And I'd be like, ha ha ha, yeah, totally. Who's that? Realizing that Hagrid is actually not some like extra in Lord of the Rings was pretty important. I also really didn't know like who Hedwig was. I just thought that Hedwig, the owl, on like all of the promos was the golden snitch because I know that catching a thing is important in Quidditch. And I was like, that's a golden snitch! It's an owl! So like learning that Hedwig is like a character and that the golden snitch is an inanimate sport utensil, that was also pretty important.
Sport utensil.
I don't know, what else do you call it? Like a piece of equipment?
Ball?
Sports equipment? It's an inanimate piece of equipment. That's a pretty hot take on Harry Potter, is that the snitch actually is animate.
I mean, originally, according to Quidditch Throughout the Ages, which I owned as a child, the snitch was actually the golden like snidgeon. It was a little bird. And they stopped using that because it's inhumane, because as it turns out, when you grab a bird like this, it doesn't go well for the bird.
You could like...
This fucker's like flying around a Quidditch pitch. You got 150 points on the line. This is not a quaffle.
You're right, this is not a quaffle. I think the thing that actually surprised me the most about Harry Potter was, like, even though I knew I was missing out on things, like, I didn't actually understand the extent to which I was missing out on things. I am in law school. In my particular faculty of law, we have this tradition called Law Show, where essentially the law students put on a parody adaptation of a well-known story, and we do it for charity, and it's a ton of fun. It's excellent. So there were Harry Potter jokes in the script. And so we started working on this show in September, and I read the script all through the fall, and only upon returning in January and reading the script after I'd read the first Harry Potter book, did I turn to one of my friends and go, that's Harry Potter! And she was like, yeah. That was really quite something to me. I had no idea, like, the extent to which Harry Potter is ingrained in our lives.
Who do you most, like, which of the kids do you most identify with?
This is such a hard question.
Wouldn't be asking you this if you read these 10 years ago. You wouldn't be saying this if you read this 10 years ago.
This is really hard because all these kids are so special to me. I'm an outsider to Hogwarts, and like, so is Harry. And the book is kind of like written from his perspective. And so when Harry's like, I just like met this kid with like a pointy face and he was kind of mean to me, I'm like, I don't know who this is either, bud. Like, I'm on your side.
Which do you relate to most? If you read this when you're like, that could be an 11-year-old Sam.
Oh, this is so hard. Well, when I was 11, I was Hermione. I had super curly hair. You can't see it now because I've styled it. When I was 11, I was the top of all my classes. I do have one parent who's a dentist. So reading this, I was like, I relate. Harry and Hermione, I'd say.
Nice.
So then, who did you relate to most when you read this for the first time?
Draco, because I'm actually a blonde 11-year-old rich kid.
You're gonna have to unpack that while I drink this beer.
I remember reading this and being like, wow, like this kid needs a hug.
Mm-hmm.
I also needed a hug. But I think most of it comes from this idea of like, you have to present yourself a certain way. And that is how I interpreted Draco. Like, when we look at Draco in the shop at Madame Malkin's, you'll find that there's certain kinds of wizards and, like, friends and, like, all of that stuff, and him walking around with his little slick back hair just, like, super aerodynamic.
That part was so sad!
Like, reading that as where I was sitting there and I was going, like, this makes sense. Like, my family is not super wealthy. We have no claims to some sort of, like, fame or fortune or mansion or peacocks or whatever, you'll get there. I knew from a very young age that I had to behave a certain way in order to be taken seriously. And, like, my family's Russian. Like, there's not a lot of feely shit. Seeing this kid and me being like, oh, I see that. I understand where that might be coming from. I get it. Relatability right there. Even though, like, Draco was a shit, and honestly, I knew a lot of Dracos that were shit to me because I was basically a Ron. But
A Ron.
I've got a lot of siblings.
Lots of siblings.
Many. More than Ron.
Let's take a Bertie Bott's Every Flavor Bean break.
Bean break.
We've got the original Bertie Bott's Every Flavor Beans. Forbidden. And we're gonna tie into these right now. I'm also. Oh, that's too many Every Flavor Beans.
Bean down.
Bean down.
I think I know what this is.
I'm gonna have this one. We're just gonna sure.
Yep, I was right. Wow, that's uncanny.
Green apple.
Black pepper.
I had a black pepper one the other day. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Green apple's really quite nice. Oh, the first sentence of this book. Let me just.
Okay.
You know what?
Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they are perfectly normal. Thank you very much.
How did you know that?
I've read this book.
I read this on the couch and I was like, thank you very much. I was like, well, there you go. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Dursley. Number 4 Privet Drive, I don't know. Cats couldn't read maps or signs, and I read this and I was like, oh no, this cat is reading the sign. Mr. Dursley gave himself a little shake and put the cat out of his mind. As he drove towards town, he thought of nothing except a large order of drills he was hoping to get that day. And this
is my literal job now.
This is just, I appreciate so much how the children, I guess, are like pitted against the mundane, like rote world that is being an adult. He couldn't see how he and Petunia could get mixed up in anything that might be going on. He yawned and turned over and couldn't affect them. How very wrong he was. And I was like, oh buddy, like I'm here with you.
How very wrong you are.
Like how very wrong I am as well. Like I sit here being like my life is super normal and like I'm on the side now. This is not normal anymore.
Vernon Dursley reminds me of Vern's Pizza from my hometown. If you know, you know. But the claim to fame on that pizza was the toppings were literally this thick. Just like crust, sauce, meat. And it's actually easier to eat it meat side down because it's more structural, like there's better structural integrity. It's a sketchy slice. And that is what Vernon Dursley always reminded me of.
Can I read something to you? In anticipation of making content, I read this twice. And I'd like to read something that doesn't track, like not even slightly. But for those of us that don't have this book memorized, I'm on page 16 of this edition, chapter 1, The Boy Who Lived.
On the back.
Oh, sorry, that's a very young Albus Dumbledore on the back. He's a good guy. This is what I expect he looked like all throughout the book. When I read this, I was like, there's Dumbledore, there he is. So, this is Hagrid, and sidebar, where's Hagrid from? What?
You'll find out, doo-doo.
Will I?
You'll find out, doo-doo. We need a jingle for this.
What are
Sam will find out later.
Like me trying to read Hagrid's like in my own brain, trying to be like, what is this pattern of speech? I don't know. That was my sidebar, but we can stop now. So Hagrid appears on a motorcycle, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But then this motorcycle turned out to be like more of an operation than I was ready for. He looked simply too big to be allowed and so wild. Long tangles of bushy black hair and beard hid most of his face. His hands the size of dustbin lids. That's a real descriptor. Hagrid, said Dumbledore, sounding relieved at last. And where did you get that motorbike? And I remember reading this and thinking, I'd also love to know. Where's this from? Borrowed it, Professor Dumbledore, sir, said the giant, climbing carefully off the motorbike as he spoke. Young Sirius Black lent it to me. And that's the only time that we talk about the motorbike or Sirius Black. And I've read this twice, and I'm like, that is a detail we didn't need.
Sam is gonna find stuff out about the motorbike.
Are you telling me that's like a thing later?
Well, you know, I'm telling you that Muggle transportation is a big deal to wizards.
Does this like very particular paragraph come back later in the series?
I don't know. It's not like I've read these books.
Leather boots like baby dolphins. That was funny. I just got
I want to know where Hagrid gets his shoes made.
Let's talk about this. Do you think they're custom?
Yes.
Oh. Well, then
You got
we'll
feet
never
the
know.
size of baby dolphins. Where the hell are
We
you
don't-
buying your shoes?
We don't swear on Harry Potter hot takes. We don't do that.
You don't do that. We've
I
got
don't do
feet the
that.
size of baby bleeping dolphins. Merlin's beard, Sam.
Play with that tab. Hey! I don't want that tab on my face. This is basically just Cinderella. Thoughts?
So in Cinderella, the mom dies,
Mhm.
and then the dad gets a stepmom who brings her kid, who is Dudley.
Same, but different Cinderella.
Does that mean that Harry's dad had a thing with Aunt Petunia? I actually have a really important question for you about letters. So when we look at the letters, canonically, there's like a magic thing that happens, and Professor McGonagall gets like notification of every kid that's a wizard, blah blah blah.
Like
There's
on
a
an
magic
iPad
thing.
or something?
Yeah,
like
like
bing!
on like a wizard iPad. Like these letters are written out. I don't know if she handwrites them, or I don't know if she's got like an army of quills just at her bequest. But these people rejecting these letters. I mean, like the Dursleys, like tearing them up. How angry is this woman that she sends hundreds of letters and they move?
Yeah.
And they move.
Mm-hmm.
And so they send Hagrid. Like, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, Dumbledore, why the bleepity bleep 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 Merlin's beard didn't you send me? As we were.
Let's talk about Madame Malkin's. This is my favorite. This is not my favorite scene. This scene hurts me very deeply.
I'm a fancy rich kid. What do you mean you don't know this? Hagrid is an elf. Followed by, no, I don't know. My parents are dead. That's Hagrid. I think he's brilliant. Ice cream time.
It was just sad.
I know.
It was just kids like trying to connect with one another, and they had no idea what the other one was like.
Yeah.
What the other one needed. Like they were both just like trying to be like friendly in the way that they know how. Draco was probably just like, oh, what's this kid? Like, yeah. And Harry was just like, oh, what's this kid? And they just like wanted to be friends, and it just didn't happen. And it was really sad.
What?
Bean break.
There's so many bean bread.
Pink one.
I want that green one.
You want the green
No, I
one?
don't. I've changed my mind. I want the pink one.
All right. So here are the beans.
Pink. Yeah.
Watermelon.
Cotton candy. Or,
Nice.
as they say, candy floss.
Oh, let's talk about sorting.
It's a four-legged stool in front of the first years. On top of the stool, she put a pointed wizard's hat. This hat was patched and frayed and extremely dirty.
Hold on.
Aunt Petunia wouldn't have let it in the house. Go.
Why can't we wash the hat?
You can't wash a sentient hat, Sam.
Well, wouldn't it? I think a sorting hat would like to go for a swim. Like going, we would.
Would you like to be put in the laundry machine?
No, but I like to go for a swim. I think a sorting hat could like go in water for like a
It
minute.
has no arms. How's it going to swim with no arms?
It can float.
Okay, I have beef. I have a hot, spicy take here. All of the houses get like 3 descriptors except for Slytherin. We get 1 descriptor. No wonder everyone hates us.
I don't know if I'm in the us yet.
Sam is part of the us. You were brought into this muggle times. You're an us. And there are no thems.
The sorting part?
Oh, except me. I am a them.
You're a them. You're a them.
I them in the broader sense. It's not an us and them game. It's just an us and more of us, and I am a them.
That's the one. That's a spice. My favorite part about the sorting is the way it's like Bones, comma Susan, and in my head I was like Woods, comma L. I think it's hilarious. I think it's a great way to live. AJ made me take the test before I even knew what I was doing.
You are a muggle born, and if you have not read the book in 27 years, you deserve to be sorted blindly.
I took the test not having read the books, not knowing what I was doing.
No one knows what they're doing.
No, you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, because I read the books when I was 8.
Okay, so look, my first question is if you don't like the house you're sorted into, such as myself, I don't love the house that I was sorted into.
I take that as a personal insult. Just learn to lean into it, Sam. You're in law school. Of course you're a Slytherin.
So we're both Slytherins, and what I learned from the first Harry Potter book is that means we're both bad guys, and I don't want to be the bad guy of any story, so I want to know if there's like a hat of appeal where I can like put this hat on my head and be in a different house.
No. Do you think I'm a bad guy?
No, but in this book...
No. Yes or no answer. You said no. Not all Slytherins are bad guys.
Bad guys in here.
Merlin was a Slytherin.
Okay, so I don't want to be in Slytherin.
Too bad.
And I just want to know if there's an appeal process.
No. You appeal while the hat's on your head, Sam.
My hot take is that the Sorting Hat's a utilitarian.
If Sorting Hat was a utilitarian, and I'm going to quote your boyfriend here, Harry would be in Slytherin.
More on that later. Some of my friends in life have tried to be like, I'm a Gryffindor. And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. That's like a way of being in more than one house. So can I be like a Slitherdor?
Like, technically, yes, but I don't think they let you split your time at Hogwarts. It's not like two-parent custody where you're just like a Slytherin Monday through Wednesday and a Gryffindor Thursday through Saturday.
I'd love to be a weekend Gryffindor, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I'd
Actually, no,
a
weekend Slytherin!
Yeah! And I only say, well, I mean, I'm an all-week Slytherin.
I don't want to be an all-week Slytherin.
But the reason I say that is, like, I'm pretty sure Slytherins would have the best parties.
I don't know, they're 12 in the book I just read.
Slytherins, man, like, there's so much there. There's, like, this, like, slightly tortured thing. Everyone's against you. Underdog, but not really the underdog, because Harry Potter always has to be the underdog. And also the disposable income there, Sam. Just think how great those parties are going to be when you're 16 and 17 and a full adult, because that's how adult you are in the wizard world. They make you an adult at 17.
That's too young. When I was 17, I think I was still watching Barbie and the Mermaid Tale.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's a solid film.
You know what? You know what just like got me in here? The world changed for me on the train to Hogwarts.
Is it because Hagrid abandoned a child who had no idea how to get to the train at the train station?
Partly yes, but mostly just watching children unbridled interact with one another. I was like, somebody take the wheel, because all I can do is read this book. I can't do anything. I'm not an agent. We gotta get here.
We're skipping over the entire talking to a snake at a park thing, aren't we?
Well,
more on that later.
That was pretty cool. I did like that. I liked talking to a snake at a park. I liked, where are you from? I'm bred in captivity.
When I was young and reading this, I couldn't discern between Harry being like, hey mate, how's it going? And the snake being like, good, you? Or Harry just being like, shh. And the snake just being like,
making friends on the train. This was very special to me. Being 11 is really hard. Here it is. This is it. Oh, this is the part that just broke my heart, but it was so good. It was so cute. I'm on page 76.
Of this edition.
Okay, we're talking about Harry, okay? He had never had any money for sweets with the Dursleys, and now that he had pockets rattling with gold and silver, he was ready to buy as many bars as he could carry. But the woman didn't have any Mars bars.
Yeah. Briefly remember wanting to know what a Mars bar tasted like after this. I don't know that I ever actually had one. I think my family was pretty set on, like, Snickers and Reese's Pieces.
This is the other part. That just, like...
This is the other part, folks. Buckle in.
Go on. Have a pasty, said Harry, who had never had anything to share before, or indeed, anyone to share it with. It was a nice feeling sitting there with Ron, eating their way through all Harry's pasties and cakes.
The sandwiches lay forgotten.
When you're 11, you don't care about sandwiches.
I cared very deeply about sandwiches at 11.
I didn't. I cared about candy.
I think I cared about candy more.
It's so cute. I didn't know what to do. I had to, like, set this down and, like, take a walk. Oh, boy. Whew. This part is also, like, really special because this is where we meet the other main characters. There's Neville. I'm like Neville. I forget everything. And that spoke to me. And Ron Weasley, Ron muttered. Harry Potter, said Harry. Oh, you really? Said Hermione. I know all about you, of course. I got a few extra books for background reading, and you're in mathematical history and the rise and fall of the dark arts and great wizarding events of the 20th century.
Where did she buy these? Well, I guess Diagon Alley. But how did she buy these between, like, then and the start of the school term and read them all? She's 11. She has no job. That's how. Never mind. Redacted.
Okay, so I know that we disagree on houses, but this is what really, like, told me that Slytherins are bad guys. This whole house about houses. Whatever house I'm in, she's not in it. Oh, that was like so cute. Sometimes you just don't want to be in the house as that girl. Mom and Dad were in Gryffindor too. I don't know what they'll say if I'm not. I don't suppose Ravenclaw would be too bad, but imagine if they put me in Slytherin. I read this and I was like, oh, imagine if they put me in Slytherin. That's the house of all, I mean, you know who was in. Yeah, said Ron. Like, it's scary. I don't want to be in that house.
Okay, can I just throw this out here? Just like, okay, so you're 11, you're going to do a thing, and every adult in the house has said, like, hey, if you join this thing, you're a bad guy. Do you know what that is? Like, oh, I'm sorry, don't play soccer, they're evil.
Okay, touche.
It means you have capabilities of being, everyone has a capability of being a bad guy.
It was the pale boy from Madame Malkin's robe shop. He was looking at Harry with a lot more interest than he'd shown at Diagon Alley. I remember reading this and I was like, oh, we're gonna make another friend.
He was not going to make another friend.
Yeah, that got to me in like 2 paragraphs.
Is it true, he said, they're saying all down the train that Harry Potter's in this compartment. So it's you, is it?
It's true.
Yes,
I don't know what he said, but it's true.
said Harry. He was looking at the other boys. Both of them were thick-set and looked extremely mean. Standing either side of the pale boy, they looked like bodyguards. Oh, this is Crabbe and this is Goyle, said the pale boy carelessly, noticing where Harry was looking. And my name's Malfoy. Draco Malfoy.
Bond.
James Bond.
Harry Potter is just James Bond fanfiction in there about Draco, not about Harry.
So we have Harry Potter and the Philosopher's
Harry Potter
Stone.
and the Philosopher's Stone and Draco Malfoy.
We have Ron Weasley makes a friend. We have Hermione and the time that these 2 idiots got me in so much trouble, but we won house points, so it's okay. We've got Draco Malfoy, and I tried to make a friend, it went horribly wrong. Oh god, we can never be friends ever again. I must be angsty about him for 7 books. We have Vernon Dursley and the No Good Very Bad Day. There's so many books in this book.
So many books in this book. Let's read more. Tell me more.
Tell me more, like, does he have a car?
Tell me more, did you get very far? No, just tell me about when they didn't become friends. That was the saddest part.
Charlie's in Romania studying dragons, and Bill's in Africa doing something for Gringotts.
AJ loves Charlie.
Charlie Weasley is the reason I'm not just like a full-blown lesbian. I'm not even kidding. 8 years old, I was like, I'm marrying this guy. And I know, like, canonically, more into dragons than anything else. Not super sexy. But yeah, thanks, Charlie.
My hottest take of this book so far is that I know it's called Harry Potter, but much like in Pirates of the Caribbean, which was my thing growing up, it's all about Jack Sparrow. But Jack Sparrow really doesn't change as a character. He just keeps going and going for like 7 films, or however many there are right now. I have not kept up. I actually expect Harry Potter is not going to change. I think this series is actually about Ron and Hermione. I think that Ron and Hermione are going to have like good character arcs. I think we've got Harry, who's going to be like our unchanging, unflappable good guy. I think we've got Draco, and he's going to be like our unchanging, unflappable bad guy. And I'm expecting Ron and Hermione are going to be like, woo, like, we're not really sure who we are. But that's...
What about, like, random side characters? Like, what about, like, Dudley and Neville?
Well, Dudley's not going to go to Hogwarts. He's just not. Dudley's going to Smeltings.
Yes.
I learned that.
But
so
do you think he's going to change?
No.
What about Neville?
If Neville changes, there's hope for me too. Do we have anything else to say?
Paper fly off of?
I don't know. Do we have
ghosts?
Our house that we are living in right now is very, very haunted. So
Extraordinarily haunted.
Very, very haunted.
Much
and so
haunted.
reading about the likes of Nearly Headless Nick, I was like, wow, maybe we have friendly ghosts as well. In conclusion, the first half of this book has been a banger and a half.
You will find out more Harry Potter hot takes in our next video.
We put out new videos every Thursday, and we also drink fantastic beers every Thursday and every Friday on TikTok on Fantastic Beer Friday. So
Every Friday on Twitter.
every Friday on every platform.
For more fire whiskey hot takes and fantastic beers, check out our links down there.
Please feel free to give us some money on Patreon, where you can have access to our
Harry Potter hot takes
After
after
Dark.
dark, bloopers, outtakes, and other such nonsense.
The content gets worse the more you give us money. Love and Lumos. See you next week.